Okay. Oh, that's not the remote. That's Westernization and the Middle East, Southwest Asia.
It's still Unit 7, correct?
This is Unit 8. This has been Unit 8. The Cold War is Unit 8. The World Wars were Unit 7. This, this is the penultimate unit. That means next to last. All right. You are so close to being finished.
Also, question about the classes. What it said when we signed up for classes in the elective, you recommended us for an AP class, and then you recommended us for the social studies.
I recommend you for a US because I don't know what it is. It's some civics thing, and I don't know, and it was some other class. No, my recommendations were right.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I was wondering why it's two classes.
In case you want to take the AP class or the regular, or just follow the regular track.
I signed up for
Okay.
that.
That's great. And if you have any questions with either, once you're a student, you're always a student. Come on back to 114. All right. So here we go. IRA. No, I'm kidding. That's Iran. Iran, formerly Persian and the Safavid empires, way back when. See how it all kind of comes together? Be able to remember those gunpowder empires? Fell under foreign domination, first Britain and then Russia, in the 19th century. Persia has a long history, long before any of this. I'm assuming the red is split or contested control. Here's your Russian domination. There's your British domination. So we're starting in Iran. There's the Hindu Kush Mountains, where it is believed that Aryan civilization found their way into India and gave us Hinduism and other things. One of the first oil derricks in Iran. There it is. The Anglo-Persian Oil Company. Iran never colonized completely. But the discovery of oil early in the 20th century, early in the 1900s, basically, Iran's the new girl at a high school. Everybody wants to get to know her. People are trying to see who she's going to like best. So all the European countries are acting like the piggish guys who want to get to know her. Or heck, girls, I don't care. I really don't. Anyway, the European people who could invest time and money to make them popular, to woo Iran into an economic partnership, did. And some of them won and some did not. Yeah, I know this is long. Anyway, wages were 50 cents a day. There was no vacation, no sick leave, no disability compensation. The workers lived in a shanty town called Paper City without running water or electricity. In winter, the earth flooded and became a flat, perspiring lake. The mud in town was knee-deep, and when the rain subsided, clouds of nipping small-winged flies rose from the stagnant waters to fill the nostrils. Summer was worse. Oh, I can't wait. The heat was torrid, sticky and unrelenting. Whoops. Cut me off. Sticky and unrelenting, while the wind and sandstorms shipped off the desert hot as a blower. The dwellings of Paper City, cobbled from rusted oil drums, hammered flat, turned into sweltering ovens. In every crevice hung the foul, sulfurous stench of burning oil. Paper City, there was nothing. Not a tea shop, not a bath, not a single tree. Where do I sign up? See, even in Iran, they got to experience the Industrial Revolution. Raja Khan. All right. Seized power through a military coup, calling himself the Shah, and establishing the Pahlavi dynasty. The last Shah of Iran was deposed in 1979. It's a cool logo. All right. Reza Khan modernized Iran's infrastructure. He weakened the power of religious leaders, the mullahs, eventually he was overthrown in 1941 by Britain and Russia because it costs more if there's an effective leader in a country you're trying to exploit. So if we can get rid of the leader, we can bring chaos, and in chaos there is profit. So the British and the Russians have him removed. Again, they had Western-style schools. Here's a celebration celebrating the abolition of the chador. Something tells me that's the headwear, because none of those women are wearing the typical headgear. I missed one. I thought I got all of them. Will His Highness kindly abdicate in favor of his son, the heir to the throne? We have a high opinion of him and will ensure his position. But His Highness should not think. Anyway, basically, that's Britain and Russia saying, look, step down. We don't like you. We like your son because your son sees things more our way. So step down. Mohammad Mossadegh, elected leader of Iran, sought to nationalize the oil from foreigners to benefit the Iranians. That's nationalization. That was my battery pack. That's nationalization. That's socialism. A part of it. Let the state own the oil industry, and then the state can use the profits from the oil industry to help the people.
Wait, is this who Britain and Russia elected?
No, they wanted his son, and that was in 41. So this is 10 years later, after World War II, when all this decolonization is going on. Now we're starting to see it happening in Southwest Asia. Yep. And BP again stands for British Petroleum. That's where it started. Look at old. Our long years of negotiations with foreign countries have yielded no result thus far. Basically, look. We want to control the oil. We hear people are saying that people are arguing that if we get control of the oil, we being Iran, that we'll sell it all and then shut our derricks down. And that's stupid. We're going to make money. In 1953, Britain and the United States orchestrated a coup that overthrew Mossadegh, who was replaced by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Pahlavi. So he was replaced by this Shah right here in 1953. So this is analogous to the Winter Soldier's behavior. Go in, destabilize the government, overthrow a government, put someone in that's going to help you out to a degree. This is us putting a leader in, us in Britain putting in somebody who will work more favorably with the terms we desire. Operation Ajax. The CIA and British operatives hired the leaders of a bunch of street gangs in Tehran and used them to help create the impression that the rule of law had totally disintegrated. They hired a second mob to attack the first mob to give people the impression there was no police presence and order had completely disintegrated. They staged a riot. It was acting. But not that uncommon. In the middle of the Cold War, the United States played a role in the overthrow of a democratically elected Iranian government. First president to admit to the coup. Well, Turkey still hasn't admitted it yet. Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah of Iran. He is the last Shah of Iran. Shah embraced policy of Westernization called the White Revolution, with the idea of social welfare systems, a modern education system, secular courts. So no Sharia law. You have religious law, you have civil law, and civil law is how you handle civil crimes. A lot of this part of the world goes through this sort of white revolution during this time period. Because they, look, from a purely economic standpoint, I would imagine they see the benefits. The other stuff, how strong a foothold social welfare systems, what I know of Islam, would seem to be something that would be in line with the 5 pillars. Oops. But the other stuff, the Western education and things of that, that's gonna meet. Okay, that's gonna meet some resistance, I would think, eventually. Women got the right to vote and to work outside the home. Polygamy was banned. Western style dress was encouraged, which begs me the one thing about Islam that that's not true. One of the things is the history of the head cover. Is it actually in the Quran? Is it something they have to do? Why is it that there are different ones? Why is it some is just the headgear? Some you can't see any of the body, including the face. And some of them, not even the eyes, it's all behind the black veil. Well, it's mesh. And again, if it's that fundamentalist of a Muslim society, they're not leaving the house, typically. Well, but that's to us in our culture, that's an appropriate answer. To them, it's getting dressed. They go to the beach and they swim in it. Yeah.
Guy on the last slide and stuff too.
A little. Kind of looks more like Andy Patinkin. Inigo Montoya. Okay. Okay, so this is nice. 1910, 1920, 1930, 40s, 50s, 60s, 1970s, the last Shah, we go back to the 80s. That's one form, and then the 90s, which is slightly less. Why did they go back to it? Because a conservative ruler took over. A religious person took over control of the government and brought back the idea of Sharia, which is the Quran. The word of the Quran is law, and so they're together. It's interpretation. Shah is the U.S. puppet. Down with the Shah. Shah was viewed as a dictator who used secret police, the Salak, to crush political opposition. Many viewed him as a puppet of foreign governments. Well, considering he was put in by a foreign government, I would say their argument's not completely unfounded. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Anyway. Couldn't figure out why that was so blurry. Okay. Shah's picture is everywhere. At the beginning of all film showings in public theaters present the Shah in various regal poses, accompanied by the national anthem. The monarch also actively extends his influence to all faces. Okay, he's everywhere. The Shah's attempts to westernize Iran anger religious conservatives. The Shia majority in Iran and its authoritarian rule angered liberals. Remember, most Muslims in the world are Sunni Muslims. Most Muslims in Iran are Shia Muslims. And the Shia Muslims are much more conservative than the Sunni Muslims. Remember, Shia Muslims believe the only people who can teach the word are direct blood descendants of Muhammad. I have repeatedly pointed out that the government has evil intentions as they're opposed to the ordinances of Islam. Mention should make clear its opposition to the ordinance of Islam. But basically, the requirement that judges be Muslim, let's see, like the fact that judges must only be Muslim or male. Henceforth, Jews, Christians, and the enemies of Islam and the Muslims are to decide on affairs concerning the honor of person of the Muslim. Basically, according to Shia law and according to conservatives, the only people on the courts who should make decisions concerning the lives of a Muslim to be a Muslim. Again, if you're following the rule of law, it really shouldn't matter. But in 79, the Iranian Revolution, led by elite clerics, toppled the Shah, who fled the country. When the devil leaves, the angel returns. The Shia cleric Ayatollah Khomeini became supreme leader of Iran, forming a theocracy where religious leaders have secular authority. That's what it means. It means people holding religious titles control civil law. So the two worlds mix. The separated church and state does not exist, bless you, in a theocracy. The dictatorship is gone. Bring on the dictatorship. Okay. Khomeini defended Islamic fundamentalism, emphasizing literal translations of Islamic texts. Literal translations. Social conservatism, political traditionalism means that all the progress gained by women will go away henceforth. That's what that means. And any other non-Muslim.
So did they bring back the, I don't know, that I would, like, let's see, they bring back like the tax on the Muslim, is that like gone?
I don't know if countries still honor that in the present. We are not afraid of economic sanctions or military intervention. What we are afraid of is Western university. See, it's always education. Attack education and people are easier to control. On a related note, because it involves education and the government, the House of Representatives in the North Carolina General Assembly just passed a bill suggesting that now has to go to the Senate, suggesting that all teachers post their lesson plans online, so that the government can see what we're teaching.
That's a bad thing.
That's a horrible thing. What if I'm teaching something that they don't want me to teach?
Like,
Which is precisely why they're doing it. What?
What would be an example of something like
What they're more concerned with is bias, that we're brainwashing and indoctrinating children to hate America, and we don't talk about the great man theory anymore, and all that stuff here in the news now about the whole race theory, that they want us to talk about all the great stuff we've done. Okay, we have done great stuff. There is no denying the great stuff we have done. But they don't want us talking about the crummy stuff we've done. That's un-American. They want to make sure that what we're teaching, and I should have a lesson plan every day for you. But I know what I'm doing, not for, they can come in my room. Like I said, I have a standing invitation for 18 years now. Just come on in, sit on my desk. Don't even tell me you're coming. That way I can't plan a crazy lesson. That's what they want. I don't know if it'll pass the Senate.
why just like looks like a fake pack? Teachers.
Well, I'm sitting there trying to think of things to do and like just post the same thing. Just like every day. Or have everybody, which is what they're going to want. They're going to want every religion teacher to post the same. They're just afraid.
It's just a straight.
They want everybody, but the bias bill was that history teachers. They wanted us not to offer any opinion about anything, just deliver facts, which are all.
It's like,
yeah,
you're never
I
gonna
know.
deliver this facts. You can't.
Jurist-supported guardianship. Clerics had authority over unfortunate people, but he extended that to include the entire Shia community. So they could make decisions over the lives and well-being of the population. Whoops. The fundamental difference between Islamic government on the one hand and constitutional monarchy and republics on the other hand is this. Whereas the representatives of the people or the monarch in such regimes engage in legislation, In Islam, legislative power and competence to establish laws belong exclusively to God Almighty. Yes, you may. No, go ahead.
Why didn't America try to stop that revolution? The guy that had the power.
They did. And he fled to us. He either fled to Europe or to the United States. I think we got him out. This is also, and I don't know if they're being here or not, this is also when they took a bunch of students hostage for a year. American students hostage for a year in 79. Yeah, so.
How did they do that? Like you know where they occurred?
Uh-huh.
Like you know how it occurred? Like,
No, I don't know the circumstances of it, no. There was a movie about how they tried to get him out. I cannot if you watch. Oh, gosh, it's been a while now. We don't say that the government must be composed by the clergy, but that the government must be directed and organized according to the divine law. And this is only possible with the supervision of the clergy. So I'm not saying we got to have the clergy. I'm just saying you got to have the clergy. Like what they're saying is you don't need to have a mullah, a religious figure, as president. You can't make any laws without them because they know the Quran. Khomeini suppressed all opposition, hoping to purify the country of secular values. Thousands were executed in the name of revolutionary justice. The new government, extremely anti-West. Western books, music, movies were banned. They called the United States the Great Satan. And they still do. And Iran is not alone in this. The Imam, who mentored me, called America the Great Satan. He believed that all the Muslim problems are caused by America. And again, if that's what you hear growing up, that's what you believe. It goes back to, like I said, North Korea hates us because that's what they know from when they're this big. Yeah.
So were they mad at like just the U.S. or like also like Britain and all those powers?
Well, it's funny because Britain and France hosed this whole region after World War I. They flat out lied to us. But it's 1979. By 1979, Britain and France aren't the United States. And if his teacher is singling out America, then that's who it's going to be. I'm sure there is disdain for the others, but not like us. There they are. They seized the United States Embassy, held 52 hostages for 444 days in the embassy. So they probably just went to storm the embassy and just kept them in the embassy.
oh, so it wasn't.
I'm sorry, I wasn't still. I was thinking of another.
These are terrorists then?
Pardon?
These were like terrorists?
These were people loyal to the Ayatollah. So, yeah. Again, we can now, you could, I don't know if kidnapping back in the day was sort of like what terrorists did. One of the things terrorists did in the 70s is hijack airplanes. Like that was the move. And then take it to Cuba or take it somewhere and seek asylum. But they would hijack airplanes. Now they use airplanes. Reagan takes oath as 40th president. And then the moments after he becomes president, the hostages are released. And some people give Reagan credit for that they were afraid of Reagan because Reagan would have sent in troops and whatever. Maybe. Jimmy Carter's legacy has been post-presidency. Jimmy Carter's stamp on American history and the world's history and leadership and things of that sort have all taken place after he left office. He replaced, he was a one-term president. He replaced a guy who replaced Nixon, Gerald Ford. Carter was just there in a pretty rough spot. You go here. Iran encouraged Muslims in other countries to overthrow secular governments and establish Islamic republics. Iran is the seat of fundamentalist Islam. Which is why some people don't want them to be nuclear.
Look at that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Story.
Yeah,
You know why it took the United States so long to get the hostages freed? Don't they have like a really strict and like fast moving?
whoa, one cup, brother, what are you doing? First one is free,
Oh.
first one is free, then you gotta pay. That's how we get you.
What am I paying?
It's $2 a week.
Oh,
$2 a week?
Yeah.
that was like.
Yeah, and all that money just goes into buying more supplies, like I've got creamer in the fridge for the coffee.
That was permanent free.
All right. So, but no, today's free because it's Friday.
It's not like I'll start and everything.
This is sort of like this is foundation. Yeah. Al Qaeda is in Afghanistan. We'll get to that. Yeah.
But do you know like why the United States?
Part of the legacy of Carter is his handling of this.
Okay.
If you send in forces, someone's gonna die.
Yes.
And he was trying to get all of them back.
All of them come back.
Well, how many were taken?
Yeah.
Yes, they all came back through negotiation. Yes.
And the way that slide made it seem is kind of like they like arranged them.
Well, I'm sure they got something. But what I heard growing up as a kid is that they were afraid of Reagan because Reagan would not hesitate sending in troops.
So Carter was more like a negotiable type of president.
Yes.
Not like a action.
Yes.
And then as soon as they saw it.
So they saw that it was because they'd heard Reagan through the whole campaign trail. They understood what Republican politics are. Like they know what Republican politics back then were. They are not now. They were actually Republican back then. Here is sorry, I'm moving the slide. In 80 to 98, Iran and Iraq fought each other. And this is fueled by two things: Sunni Shia splits and oil on the border. So there you go. Since they both have, oh no, I'm assuming the green would be Iranian incursion and then red would be Iraq. Okay. In recent years, the international community has attempted to thwart Iran's nuclear ambitions. A 2016 agreement was reached. They say they just want it for electricity. Well, that's fine. I mean, France has nuclear electricity. It's just different grades of plutonium are used for each, so it depends on what kind of plutonium they're looking for. All right. Let's go somewhere else. Oh, guess who's building nuclear power plants? Iran's nuclear energy program began in the 50s with U.S. financial aid and technological aid. To provide electricity. He knows that the oil was running out and time would. But he wouldn't build the plants now if he doubted their safety. He'd wait, as many Americans want to do. Shah knows that nuclear energy is not only economical, it has enjoyed a remarkable 30-year safety record. A record that was good enough for the citizens of Plymouth, Massachusetts, too. They approved their second nuclear plant. Okay. Iran's nuclear IR-40 facility in Iraq. There it is. There's their centrifuge. Of course, our nuclear facilities are for peaceful purposes. Why do you ask? Okay. Death to America and Israel. And we're going to get to Israel. Well, I am over the weekend. The whole Arab-Israeli tiff. Yeah.
So were they using American money out there?
No, we funded it.
Then why were we trying to stop that?
Well, because that was the leader we liked.
Oh.
And that was the Shah. And they were building them for electricity. Because in 1956, I know there's 2 nuclear powers, but I don't know if there's a lot more. So the idea of being a nuclear country in 56 in Iran, probably wasn't as pressing as electrifying our people. Yes.
Was the communist trying to do?
Yes. Nuclear deal. There it is. All right. Iran must cut uranium supplies by 98% for the next 15 years. International inspectors will be allowed to monitor Iranian nuclear research facilities. Many of the world's economic sanctions against Iran have been lifted. So a lot of the economic sanctions were lifted so that these sanctions could be agreed to. Sanctions don't work, by the way. Anyway. That's his first year, which means who knows when that started. He signed it. Iran remains most anti-Western country, but some Middle Eastern nations like Turkey have largely embraced Western ways. Turkey. The Ottoman Empire, sick men of Europe, fell under foreign domination in the late 19th century and lost territory to independence movements. Independence. Regions lost to France, regions lost to Russia. Losing. All right. Sultan Mehmed VI stepping down. In 1919, the Ottoman Empire, part of the defeated Central Powers, broke up. Turkey was born. Okay. All right. It's like it was real. It was fun. In 1923, Mustafa Kemal, known as Ataturk, unified Turkey and began the process of westernizing the country. I mean, look, pretty spiffy. Ataturk. Mustafa Kemal was a secular nationalist who believed that all the inheritances of the Ottoman Empire should be abandoned and Turkey should be transformed into a modern European state. So this is also part of Turkey's struggle its entire life. Where is it? No. Is it European? Is it Asian? Geographic, kind of like Russia. Most of Russia's landmass is in Asia. But when you think of Russia, you think of the western part, which is Europe-ish. Turkey should be transformed to, this involved less of a sudden break with the past than might appear. The Tanzimat reforms had laid the foundations of a secular state, and the Young Turks, even while attempting to preserve the empire, had given powerful impetus to the cause of Turkish nationalism. What he's saying is that there were things put in place long before he got here that would allow this state to occupy two spaces, to be modern and Muslim.
Did Europe put that guy into power?
No, he was voted in. The Turks voted in. Sir, I can. This? Yeah. It was the same thing. See, it's just right. Oh, I see what happened. I didn't edit that one either. If you see a slide that has extra words on it and the words fit in there, that means I'm going through and showing the corner of the box. All right. Ataturk saw adoption of Western technology and customs as key to their survival. If they were to garner respect as a modern country, if they were to be able to work with them, with the West, we have to adopt some things. I mean, you have to. You don't have to lose who you are, people. Oh gosh, what a lovely teachable moment. To be able to change and grow and take pieces of other things. So he believed that both would work. That's where we are. Again, by complete independence, we mean, of course, complete economic, financial, judicial, military, cultural independence, freedom of all matters. Being deprived of independence in any of these is equivalent to the nation and country being deprived of all its independence. It's either all or none. I'll back up in case you didn't see it, get all that. So independence is independence. It is complete. It is all things to all people. He weakened the power of Islam. He abolished Sharia law, polygamy, and the office of the caliph in government. So that figure that had been in government since the beginning of Islam, he did away with it. So again, he tried to make religion, and the law.
Did that already happen?
That was in Iran. This is now Turkey.
And is this happening in the same time frame or later?
Around this, well, no, around the same time. Turkey, Iran goes back and forth. It's all during, this is ironically, this part is pre-Cold War. This is post-World War I, it's in the 20th century. He begins his reign in the 20s, and he'll continue through the war.
So it's like an example of when we said that when we were talking about like Iran, like all the Westernization and stuff, it's like the white revolution. It's like an example of that.
Yes. Although his argument was it really isn't a revolution because we've kind of been putting these things in place over, for the longest time. So this shouldn't be that shocking. It's just like sort of like the next stage. It's like 14.5.1, 14.5.2. It's just an update. The religion of Islam will be elevated if it will cease to be a political instrument. So he actually sees the religion to be able to gain in stature, in importance, in all things if it stops wielding political power, because that isn't how most of the world, the rest of the world, does things. Your religion is a personal thing. It shouldn't be a state thing. Adarak introduces the Western alphabet to Turkey.
Is this the same thing as Mustafa Kemal?
Same guy.
Same guy. Okay.
Yeah, Ataturk is the same guy as Mustafa Kemal. Yep. Yeah.
Wouldn't they use like before?
Probably. Oh, really? Maybe. I don't know. Well, if they're Ottoman, hold on. Oh, it's the minute. It's a version of Arabic.
So that's been something with a long time.
It's Arabic. Yeah. I'm sure politicians knew Arabic. He replaced Arabic. Oh, never mind. He replaced Arabic with a Western alphabet taught in Western school style and Muslim calendar with the Western Christian one. Because remember, the Muslim calendar begins at like 640, 642. So it's off by 640 years to the Christian calendar. Now, why he changed the calendar, I don't know. I don't know Ataturk's history.
Were they really from the business and doing the working that we don't everything anymore?
Well, I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure. I would assume or hope that it gets worked in. Like it's just not tomorrow. Like you're in your last year of whatever their high school equivalent is, and nope, English. No, I'm sure that they would work it in. But it would be difficult. They have to be successful in education. The only way a nation improves and liberalizes is through education. Preach. Literacy rates in Turkey in 1924. As you can see, most of Turkey is in the 5.3 to 12% range, just going by the light blue there. The best readers are over there by the Bosporus Straits. The Quran translation into Turkish. It's QU, it's KO. There's more than one way to spell it. Like what? Like Hanukkah. Ataturk at a junior high math class. Look at that. Your prime minister is teaching math. At Trinity, the deans have to teach one class every 2 years. They want them back in the classroom so that they don't forget. So like the dean of students will teach an econ class, one dean will teach a lit class. What's a lit? Literature. Oh. All right. It's lit. All right. You. He encouraged Turks to wear Western clothes, and women to no longer had to wear veils. Women could work outside the home, and women could vote. That's the old garb. That's not the current garb. That's not what they thought the West was. I don't know, the pants are baggy and flowing, but it just seems like clothing back in the day just took forever to get into.
If you're going like in the battle,
Right.
doesn't seem like there's anything for them.
Any clothing that involves outside help to put on,
Yeah.
it's just that's just a bit too extra.
It's like if that flap blows the wind and goes over your head.
It gets caught in the propeller. All right. No capes.
If you didn't have to wear the veils, do you think some women probably still do it?
Yes, I'm sure older women did. I'm sure more conservative women did. Yes, just because you don't have to wear them doesn't mean you can't. Correct.
Like, is that why, like, does that have anything to do with, like, bridal traditions? Yeah, and across the world?
Oh, with the veil?
Yeah.
Since Christianity is ostensibly from this part of the world, it probably. That's a good point. There's no logical explanation for the political disenfranchisement of women. Women must have the right to vote and to be elected because democracy dictates that, because there are interests that women must defend, and because there are social duties that women must perform. Crazy talk. And that's coming from an early 20th century Turk. The Hat Law of 1924. Veils? No. Okay, what are you doing? The Fez? Turbans?
That had to be so onion.
Are replaced with the top hat, the Panama hat, and the derby.
Just actually how big it is for turban.
That's one particular style, one particular culture. That's turbans have various sizes because Sikhs still wear turbans. They're not quite as large. Yeah. Turkey became an ally of the U.S. It received support to resist communism during the Cold War, and it has applied for European Union membership. This is true, and it's repeatedly denied because it will not. What's the word? Accept the fact that they committed genocide. The Armenians. They're like, no, it was self-defense. That's their argument. And again, after World War II, it made sense to, via the Marshall Plan or the Truman, whatever plan we gave Turkey money in to help them not become communism, because, communism bad. Evil communists. The U.S. placed nuclear missiles in Turkey during the Cold War. In fact, they are being referenced in the movie we're watching. There are Jupiter 2 missiles in Turkey during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Isn't that how it got like all? That's
The
because
same
they were like
situation.
they did that. It's like they like have a hotline for everything. They're like,
Well, you'll see that the hotline wouldn't have worked. No. There is a. He's got a phone.
that's what we did with us.
Well,
Wait. What was our response? Was like the Cuban response to that.
the Cuban Missile Crisis, I would argue, is a response to that. Yes.
Oh, so they.
And probably the Bay of Pigs too. We tried to remove Castro.
Yeah.
It failed horribly.
How would that happen?
They were going to say they were pro-Cuban. They were Cuban sympathizers, Cubans who left, who wanted Castro deposed. They tried to coordinate an invasion, and they just failed. Ataturk's secular nationalism, controversial among Muslim clerics, that rift remains in Turkey today. There is a split in Turkey because I've always made, this is an oversimplification. We're talking about oversimplifications. I think that what countries mix up is they mix up, and it's partly our doing into how just overtly we project our stuff. But I think countries can conflate Westernizing with modernizing. And you can become, and because everything that was modern in the early 20th century was coming from Western Europe or the United States. So they seem to go together, but you can modernize and still retain who you are. Japan did it. So I kind of think that gets stuck in there a little bit. I would love to study Middle East history a lot more, and just kind of get at and understand Islam better. Because I think if we understood Islam better, we would understand this part of the world better. Well, that's a stupid statement. If we understood anything we didn't understand better, the world would make more sense. But this would be much less contentious if we knew what we were talking about. Yeah.
To this point, like the US is secular, it's separate, but like we've rarely had any presidents that aren't Christian, or like the presidents would be like, God bless our troops, right? So it's like it is separate in like law and everything, but it's kind of like,
Well, church. Well, if it's a religious state, then they also kind of control what you worship. We've had 46 presidents, 45 of them. Was Jefferson a deist? We've only had one Catholic, that was Kennedy, and America's head about blew up. We couldn't have a Catholic president because then we would be taking orders from the Pope. That was the fear, that the Pope would be running America, because all Catholics listen to the Pope. So the fact that there was a Catholic in office was a big deal. You'll know America's come full circle when there's not a Christian in the office. Well, not full circle. That would be a Christian in the office. Yeah. That is called prayer. That is the Hagia Sophia, which is the largest Muslim mosque, and they're all praying. It's called prayer. Yeah, it's a photographic effect. That's why it's blurry. Yeah, it's being all fancy. Yeah. And then finally, there's this issue. Okay, the Kurds. It is not referencing cheese curds. I don't even think it's spelled the same. It's with a C, right? Yeah. All right. No, that's a group who, see, that should be their home. And it's not. The Kurds. One of the best debates I've ever had as a teacher, our classroom day, was when we had the Senate hearing about the Middle East and what to do about the Kurds. That was like one of the best things. What class was that? That one.
wait, was that with Wednesday class?
It was with what's her name? She got accepted to Georgetown and couldn't afford it, and now she's at. See, I know, that's why I said it. She wrote the opening paragraph to the AP Hug letter. God, I'm so mad at myself.
No.
No, not the Fiddlers.
She was my sister's.
I think so.
They graduated.
She's graduating this year too? Oh, I'm getting old. All right. The large Kurdish population in Turkey continues to advocate for a separate nation, and occasionally military coups have added tensions. The Kurds want their own land. And if we're being honest, they should. There are Kurds in Turkey, and then in the other three countries that border Turkey. The Kurds did more to defeat ISIL than we did, because they had something to fight for. They were there. And the Kurds are a sticking point, and the Armenians are a sticking point, and just the conflict between, again, this shows you it's Kurdistan, but it's not an official country. But that's all Kurdish ethnicity. Those people need a country. By the way, if you're unaware, stan means the land of. So every country that ends in stan, it's the land of those people.
Isn't like Kurdistan like the largest minority of like people without like a country?
The largest nation. They have a border, and they have a fixed border. The Poles have a country. It's recognized by more than 2 countries, therefore it's recognized as a government and a working kind, has all the rules. This one doesn't have fixed borders, doesn't have capital. It is a nation that wants to be a state. All right. And that is a very brief overview of the beginnings of Southwest Asia and the Westernization of it. The Arab-Israeli conflict, we'll get into that a little more. I'll be recording that over the weekend. And then we're going to see how Latin America tries to become stable during the Cold War and at the end of decolonization, and how the United States and the Soviet Union just play besties with that part of the world as well. Have a good weekend. That's all I have for today. I will get this uploaded shortly. Continue working. I will let you know when the changes to KCI 8 and 9 are complete, and I will start plugging away on grades. Fear not. Everybody who's turning in work will be doing just fine. As long as it's good work. Please get your lockdown browser installed. You are 10 school days from the AP exam. Actually, you're 9 now. So get your lockdown browser installed, please. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. See you from the mountains.